Yo, 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 here we go on a Wednesday evening. It is the hump day edition of Outlaw Radio. Welcome to Outlaw Radio. I am your host, Kevin Barnes, the militant with the microphone, the mouthpiece of the movement, aka the Negro Whisperer. In the building, man. It's Wednesday, man. We halfway through the week, almost to the weekend. Hope everything is going fine for everyone. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Outlaw Radio is on the air. Share the show. Hit like, hit follow, do whatever it is that you got to do to let people know it's going down. Once again, it's on, in the words of Ice Cube. A lot to talk about tonight on our platform, Outlaw Radio, which is a foundational Black American platform meant to just discuss the things that Black people are talking about. A lot of people talk about us, but very few talk to us. So it is time for us to have our conversation. Like we always do, the Outlaw family will be along shortly, I'm sure, as they realize that, oh, man, it is Wednesday. Oh, it is time for Outlaw Radio. Phone number attached to the show, 262-202-4131. Once again, 262-202-5131. You can hit us up. You can join in the conversation live, or you can jump in our platform, our chat room, which is always shaking. Case in point, we already got somebody in there. Let me see who this is. Carrie Walker Jones, how you doing? How you doing, Carrie? She said, hey, Outlaw family, how you doing, my sister? Listen, this is what we do on Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time until whenever I choose to cut the machine off. I was not on Monday. I was resting on Monday. I was chilling. Just sometimes you got to get a computer time to reset. When I talk about the computer, I'm talking about my brain. So, I was just observing some things, and actually I waited up until the point where it was time to start the show, and then just kind of said, you know what, I don't think I'm going to do it tonight. So shout out to you. Shout out to all the people who reached out saying where the show at. Sometimes I just decide to take a break. I've been told by people, like, they get mad at me and say, you don't even let nobody know when there ain't going to be no show. Normally I don't know unless it's something that's called ahead of time. But we're here tonight. So once again, you can jump into the conversation. You can jump into the chat room, 262-202-5131. You can go, if you want to see the show, or people say, how do I see the show? Go to my government name page, Kevin Barnes. There's the Outlaw Radio page. And we also have a YouTube page, the People's with a Z Network. So you can check us out on a bunch of different platforms. We simulcast live on all three of those platforms when we do regular shows, such as tonight. So check us out. Carrie said, I was wondering. Yeah, no show on last Monday. I just, as they say, I was too pooped to pop, so I just felt like I'm just going to give me some rest. I want to start the show off by shouting out my son, my youngest son, y'all. My youngest child, I shouldn't say my youngest son, my youngest child, turned 20 years old yesterday. Now, if you want to feel old, if you want to feel like Father Time has got his foot in your ass, then you look at your child who you held as a newborn turn 20, right? It makes you say, you know what? I've been around for a while. So happy birthday to the little dude, man. Positive young man, as far as I know, hoping he can stay away from all the BS and keep it moving. With all of the things that's going on in this country, especially in terms of our young Black males being in danger, it especially makes me as a father say, man, I'm just prayers up and just asking, God to keep his arm around mine. Shout out to my baby girl as well up in the Twin Cities. But, that's why I had on my talking points to start off talking about Carmelo Anthony down in Texas has a new trial. And I had asked this question a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if anybody really had any information in terms of what was going on down there. But I guess he is being granted a new trial. I know that he had appealed his conviction initially. But there's a whole bunch of things that they pointed out that was wrong with the first trial. There was also a deal that the prosecutors had drawn up that was supposedly violated in some sort. So we'll see what this new trial does. They talked about the fact that there was no public eyes being allowed into the courtroom. So a lot of things, I guess, transpired during the trial that would violate him and his rights as a defendant. So we'll see what happens with Carmelo Anthony down in Texas. It's been a crazy set of events that led up to his conviction. And hopefully this young man can get a second chance, and I hope he learns from what he went through. And I hope that the family of the young white guys who were killed. I hope that they learn too, and I hope that everybody else in this situation looks at it and says, you got to teach your children about respect, and particular if there's race involved. Particularly if there's race involved, if you are, you have white children and they're coming to you saying that they have issues with a young black child, or a young black kid or whatever, explain to them that it's important that they maintain a no contact rule. Keep your hands to yourself, right? And please explain to them that this is not the books, the history books. This is not the old Negroes from the 1940s and 50s. Brothers nowadays will and can defend themselves, right? And so this is what happens when a lot of people don't do what they need to do at home. Now, I'm not blaming the child's death on the parents. I'm just saying a lot of things can be prevented if we talk to our children at home. And likewise, if you have a young black son or daughter and they're complaining about some people treating them wrongly, and what you need to do is, first of all, as a parent, get to the school, investigate the situation, and secondly, make sure that you explain to your children the right and the wrong way to handle situations, right? And so, if they feel like their physical safety is threatened, then you got to ultimately just remove them. If you got to take a day off work, you need to remove them from that scenario and that situation. So, whole bunch of lessons to learn here, man, through the Carmelo Anthony goings on. But I'm glad he got a new trial. I'm hoping this time they don't throw the book at him and give him 35 years, which was an insane sentence, right? Especially when we got somebody like George Zimmerman, just kind of running free out here. And for what I'm hearing, he's really struggling. They're saying he's homeless. He hasn't been able to find any kind of employment, and that his mental health is really damaged. And, I think that makes us all pretty happy. I think we are all happy George Zimmerman is not doing well, because I know at first he was selling Skittles and doing paintings and all kinds of ill shit. And I just thought it was just stupid, right? Let me go to my chat room. I see you, Brandon. Brandon Hayes, what up, man? You gave me the deuces. What's happening with you, bro? Kerry Walker Jones said they had to get rid of that judge. Absolutely. It was something going on. Something in the milk wasn't clean. Brandon Hayes says Brandon Tatum is a coon. Now, who's Brandon Tatum? Let me know, because I think I know who this individual is, but I want to make sure before I call him a coon. Ruben, what it do, man? Ruben Anderson, he said, what it do? How you doing, Ruben? Welcome. Kerry Walker Jones said that's karma. Okay. Hey, y'all, share the show. Please share the show. Let people know we are on. This is the Wednesday edition of Outlaw Radio. Speak on it. We're just going to touch on some topics tonight, man, and hopefully we'll get involved in some conversations. I always say the show is meant to educate, empower, and enlighten, right? And so hopefully you will be enlightened by some things maybe you weren't aware of that were going down. Hopefully you learned something from hearing it. And, hopefully you feel empowered behind it. Mama Jenkins, I see you in the chat room, Mama Jenkins. She said, good evening, my Outlaw fam. It's okay. We all need a break. Rest is good for the mind and body. Happy birthday to your son. She said, yes, he got a new trial. That judge was a family friend. They said the debate, Marquette Poll got hung 12 points. Yeah, she had a 12-point surge in Wisconsin's gubernatorial race, which has now become, must-see TV since all of the shenanigans that have transpired within this race. But yeah, in the latest poll, she has surged to the lead in the Democratic part on the Democratic side by 12 points. And Mandela Barnes is in second place, right? So I don't know if what the Democrats planned on doing in terms of boosting Brother David Crowley's position in his race, but I don't know if it's paid off just yet. We'll see. There's still some time between now and the election. We'll see what kind of ground can be made up. Brendan Hayes said he's the black conservative that be talking down on black people. Now, is this the cat? Now, because we know a lot of times with black conservatives, they are going to talk down. They're going to talk shit to black people. But is this the guy who's into it with D.L. Hughley? Because my wife and I were listening to a guy going at D.L. Hughley today, and D.L. was just tearing him a new one. Like, it's up on, I don't know what site she was even on, but he was speaking from a conservative black person's perspective, and it was in relation to I don't know if this was the Nolan Wells case, But then he was mad at D.L. Hewley, saying D.L. Hewley put pictures of him and his wife up. So is that his name, Brandon Tatum? Is he the latest in a long line of black conservatives that feel like they need to talk down their nose at black people? And I think this is the biggest problem when we start to talk about, as a black person, do you have the right to be a conservative? Absolutely, you do. You got the right to do whatever you want to do, especially as a consenting adult. But when you get to the point where you have to talk down on your own people, and me just listening to some of the quotes that he was kind of spitting out there, talking about he was sick of black people and, he was mad at black people for them, having opinions about certain things. And it just sounded very coonish. It sounded very coonish, y'all. And I think like calling someone a coon is like one of the nastiest things you could say to a person, especially as a black man. We like to throw that Uncle Tom, coon, that kind of thing around. That's vicious. That's like one of the worst things you can call a man. It's close to telling another man SMD, right? Like that's really, those is fighting words, man. Those are things that can get you skint up. So I reserve the right to call somebody that or refer to somebody as that. I think a lot of times you have those of us who feel like, we all kind of look at race relations in this country and it's attached to each and everything that we are involved in or that we discuss. And race plays a part in so many aspects of life if you're a black person. And I think black people have the right to be pessimistic. And I think black people have the right to be suspicious and even in some cases a little bit paranoid when it comes to white people and how, race relations have been conducted in this country. So you get some black people who feel like that conversation is outdated. There's no such thing as racism. We've moved past it. They want to challenge your mental capacity or your intellectualism if you are the type of person who's going to call that out. And it just becomes ridiculous. And so when you run across a black conservative that maybe is not on that, they usually get the visceral energy that person, that man or that woman who is, one of those black people who feel like, yo, because of my education or because of my income, I'm above my own people, which is really stupid if you think about it, right? Like it's really dumb that you would let so many different things come into play when it comes to your own people. Your own people, you sick of black people. Now, I'm not gonna lie. With a lot of the ignorance that we see on social media and the internet, it does kind of give you some mental fatigue because you say, I get sick of ignorant people. But I don't just say black people, I say ignorant people, period, because I see a lot of ignorant white people online as well. It's just like case in point over this last weekend. It is the summer in Milwaukee. And every time I talk about Milwaukee with someone who's born and raised here or someone who has visited here, the main thing that they call attention to is the festivals that we're known for, the wide array of festivals that we have during the summer in the city of Milwaukee, because the summers are so short. So while the sun is shining and the temperatures are high, you want to get out. You want to enjoy the lakefront. You want to enjoy, the nature. You want to get out and just hang out. And so, people. One thing about getting a bunch of people together with some music and some alcohol, and heaven knows what else people are taking, it's gonna be some fights. And especially when you get a bunch of black people together, it's gonna be some fights. And so we seen that everybody was talking about Brady Street. Everybody was talking about, the different festivals where maybe you went there and you had on your best fit and you was looking good and you was chilling. You had your lady on your side and all of a sudden they went to tussling. And so people were upset. So I seen a lot of footage on Facebook of people fighting, right? I seen in particular after hours, I believe that was on Burleigh. It was 6 a.m. in the morning when it finally, let out. And the young ladies just fighting. It's in the middle of the street. And everybody just kind of standing out there with their phones out. I don't know if y'all ever been in an after hours joint, especially after you've been in a bar all night long until what time the bar closed? 2:30 on a Saturday. You get out the bar at 2:30, you go in this after hours and you drinking for the rest until whenever they say, okay, last call is shut down. So we're talking 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning. I don't know if people really understand how inebriated people are coming out of an after hours spot. And they're really one of the most dangerous places that you can actually go. I get it. If you don't want to go home after the bar's closed, you want to keep partying, you say, yo, let's hit the after hours. And a lot of them have gambles in them. There's gambling going on. I've been to some that were very unsafe. I shouldn't have my ass in there, but I was in there with everybody else, taking a chance. But it almost always ended with something like that, especially afterwards when it's time to get out and they just kind of put you out. You walk out and the sun is up. It's daytime. And so, there's fights, right? But I don't think it's a black thing. I think anytime you put a bunch of white people in the after hours like that, when they come out in the morning, it's gonna be some shit, right? Like it's people get into it. So I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying I understand it. And if you're from our community, you kind of understand that. Let me see, who's this? Carrie Walker. She said most of these ignorant pygmies may be educated, but they lack common sense. There's a correlation between mental illness and too much education, especially when common sense is absent. Yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of us who choose to pursue higher education, and and what you're told most of the time is that you're going to pursue an education to better yourself and create a better position for yourself in life. And a lot of us go off, and I think, Carrie, you just hit it on the head when you said that line between mental illness and then overeducating yourself, because you can short circuit your brain. And I think and that's why you have to have balance. Because even if you go to school, and this is why college kids let off steam like no other, right? Because all week long, what are you doing? You're going to class. You're going to class. You're listening to lecture after lecture. You're doing papers. You're doing all this higher level, supposedly critical thinking skills, developing those skills. And if you just stay on that, you keep your brain on that forever, I think the brain will short circuit. And that's why you see college kids normally party on the weekend. That's why they get out and we get drunk tonight. It's the weekend. We gonna kick it. We're going to have a good time tonight. And I believe that's why most college parties are the wildest parties, because you got a bunch of people who are just looking to let off steam and bring some balance to their brains, because you've been shoving information into your head all week. You got a 5-day week. I don't know how many classes. Usually, if you got a full load with 12 credits, you're going about 3 or 4, maybe 5 different classes, depending on your load. It's a lot of information to take in at once. So that's no excuse, but I think you have to have that balance. That's why sometimes when you in school, I would tell anybody who's ever been to college, you need some of those weekends where you can just say, man, we about to turn up, right? We about to, man, let's go kick it. Let's have some fun and throw caution to the wind, as long as you can be as safe as possible. What that means, I don't know. It depends on who you are and how far your limits are, or how far you're willing to go. I see you in the chat room, Orlando Anderson, or I'm sorry, Orlando Owens. He said, family, what up, man? Ruben Anderson is next. He said, what's your take on Madison police? I'm going to get to that, Ruben. We're going to talk about that. Sonia Thor said, hello, everyone. Hey, Sonia, how you doing? Carrie Walker said, absolutely, and that's why people like Manson was able to control college minds. Mama Jenkins said, did you watch the video I had on my page? Mama Jenkins, you did send me a video that I watched, and it was a police shooting. Was that the Madison police? Because I think you were one of the first ones to send me that video with the thing, and I'm gonna talk about the Madison thing in a second. But you said on your page, you ain't talking about what you sent me. I didn't see a video on your page specifically, but I seen the one you sent me last time I was on, which was last Wednesday. Sonia Thor said, you can have sense, you can have common sense. Damn, you got to have street smarts too, because you're smart in the book, be smart in the street, so you know what you're talking about. I'm from Milwaukee too. I got all the common brain sense, and they they all equal to crazy. Okay, so I was right, Mama Jenkins. It was the shooting in Madison. We'll talk about that shooting in a minute. And I really would like to hear y'all's take on it as well. So please write down the phone number. It's 262-202-5131. It is a Wednesday evening. It's Outlaw Radio. Speak on it. And what we do is we talk about everything that's important to Black people. So if you got something you want to add to the conversation, please don't hesitate to bang the line. I try to limit the time on the phone now, because my phone doesn't hold 17 people in a conference call. So I like for you to call in. Let me know what you got to say. Get up out of there. If you feel like you need to call back later on, feel free to call back. Like, we got all night, right? We can do whatever we want to do. Orlando Owens, no, I did not watch the governor's debate, Orlando. I did not watch it. We just talked about the polls. talking about Hung with her 12% increase, and talking about Barnes being in second place. Brendan Hayes said, "Did you hear about the march in Minnesota?" I did have a conversation with my wife once again about this march because my daughter's up there in Minneapolis. Was this the nigger march? Is that what it was called? The nigger march, and this was about free speech, all in response to this white lady who was in Rochester, and this happened a couple years ago, I thought, in which she suspected a little black kid of taking something out her purse, and she went off with all kinds of niggers and nigger this and nigger that, which is a crazy, crazy situation. I did hear about that, but I haven't heard about the particular march yet. I'd have to call my daughter and see what the juicy was on that. I don't know, but that's a hell of a name for a march, right? The nigger march. Like who thought up the name? My daughter was speaking as if it was somebody who's a provocateur, who is someone who wants to kind of fan the flames of race relations and has done things like this in the past, as just to generate publicity. So I'm not totally familiar with it. So once again, that's one of those things. I look forward to people. If you have information about this, please call 262-202-5131. Kerry Walker Jones said the Madison shooting was just hopefully something else to let Hispanics know they're in the same boat we are, since ICE didn't convince them. Okay. And Brenda Peterson, how you doing? She said, "Yep, that's true." So you're up there in Minnesota, Brenda. So if you got information about this, Jake Lang, this is this individual who was behind this march. Oh, okay. She said he's a January 6er. Okay, yeah, well, that makes sense. Shout out to you, Brenda, up in the Twin Cities. Ace Cooley in the building, man. What to do, Ace? How you doing, brother? Ace has a very unique way of putting things, as so many of you do. He said, "Yes, the bitch called a baby and a nigger and has raised $1 million on GoFundMe." Okay. Well, yeah, I remember her. I remember the white lady doing it. It's very, very tense time in America. In terms of race relations, man. And once again, I said this once before, and I'll say it again. This is the energy that you get with Donald Trump as president. Okay. This is what it was like during his first term. And we talked about this when he was running. And this was just us saying to voters, like, you already know what you're going to get. Like, there will be no surprises. And he was pretty much telling you what he was going to do as the incoming president. But for some reason, I think racist white people identify with Trump on a level that black people, especially well-to-do black people, black boule, they like how they identify with Obama. Like, you got a lot of black people who like to think of themselves as upper crust. I'm high class, I'm educated, I got some money. I feel like the way they really, anytime Obama says, appears, and does anything, they go crazy. They love it. He gives them a certain feeling. I think Trump does that for racist white people, because as long as Trump's face appears on a television screen and he's just running his mouth, racist white people are energized. And pretty soon, once Trump makes a lot of public appearances, or if he goes on, you go 2 or 3 weeks and he's at the top of the news cycle and he's saying stuff and he's doing stuff, you best believe there's going to be some race-related incidents coming. There's going to be some Karens jumping out the gym. So I feel like he puts a battery in the back of those people, and that's why a lot of people say he's racist. But once again, when we talk about black conservatives, like Brendan Hayes was talking about earlier, you got black conservatives who say, no, we love him. He's a great guy. And this is, so when I start talking about race, it ain't just black against white. In a lot of cases, it's black on black. Hell, we know how our resident conservative Orlando is treated here on the show. People call that man everything except for a child of God. And it just goes down. That is the reason why we develop Messy Monday. Because if you are a black conservative, people jump at you. Black people don't like that shit. So, Brendan says TPS is over. What's TPS? What are we talking about here? Oh, temporary, protective status. Yeah. I did see that. Kerry said they are all trash. A says a 16-year-old girl was hung in North Carolina. Lord have mercy, help us. Kerry Walker Jones said that motherfucker he don't never say anything that makes sense. And Brenda Peterson says exactly truth. You don't like right now, even with the whole Nolan Wells thing, which I'm gonna talk about too. See, I told y'all this. Anytime I fire this thing up, it's a lot to talk about. So it can give me mental fatigue sometimes. As I'm like, man, I don't want to go on here because I just want to keep my mind in a positive spot. But with Nolan Wells, and there's more and more information kind of seeping out very slowly, and everybody's kind of come out and given their opinion. But here, once again, is a case where we're looking at these young white kids that he was with, and in a lot of our minds, we are totally convinced that they had something to do with his passing. And so we still are waiting on autopsy results. They're saying like his throat is missing, like is some parts of him missing. So it's just strange. But then there's been some calls released. I heard one of the emergency calls where the kids are calling in for help because they're saying the bilge pump on the boat has stopped working and the boat is sinking. So we're still kind of like in a waiting pattern to see what's going on, what happened. But the assumption on a lot of our parts is this is what happens when black people hang with white people, especially young black men. He's a young black man, young college athlete, hanging around a bunch of white people and a bunch of young white kids. I would assume some of them are well-to-do because they got a boat and all this kind of stuff. And he ends up not coming home. And so this is serving as a warning to a lot of us, serving to our kids, telling them, hey, don't be trying to hang with them white people, right? Like this is what they do. We come up missing when we go hang with them, and then there's no justice behind it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people are kind of fearing right now is that there will be no justice in terms of finding out what happened to this young brother and making sure that his killers are brought to justice. So we'll see. Sonia said all them white folks know who did it. Well, somebody know who did it. That's for damn sure. And if it was foul play, spare no expense, spare no tactic. Let's figure out what happened. Because if Carmelo got 35 years, whoever done this to this young brother should get justice. They should be 35 years or more for them as well. But you know what they're saying, it was alcohol involved, and when they left, he chose to stay. And I don't know if the brother was trying to swim. We don't know what happened. I just don't right now. It's a little early for me still with Nolan Wells. I think it's very sad. A young brother with all the potential in the world got his whole life in front of him, loses his life in that fashion. Because I know when I was in college, I partied. And there have been plenty times where I could have been, could have one of the situations that I could have run into. Thank God I didn't. But it's a shame. It's a shame and it's a tragedy when this kind of thing happens. Now, as far as Corey Ruiz goes in Madison, now this was a crazy piece of video to watch. Now, supposedly he had a knife and he had injured a couple of Madison police officers. And then he was shot 3 times. Was he shot by Madison police? It's hard for me. Okay. It's hard for me to say police were wrong when you're confronted, like you as a civilian is confronted with the police, and you decide that what you're going to do is you're going to take the police on. Well, police been policing for a very long time, meaning we know what happens. They have guns for a reason. Okay. And some of them have short fuses. You don't know what kind of PTSD they're suffering from. I don't know, what led up to this. I guess, they said people said he was stealing bikes and he was trying to break into cars. They tried to subdue him. If he harmed a police officer with a knife and they shot him, I'm going to say it was justified. Okay. And I know people might not want to hear that, but there's a lesson here. Pull a knife on the police, stab one, cut one, you're probably going to get popped. That's just usually because, a lot of brothers get shot down and they find out that he ain't even had no weapon. So, surprise, surprise, right? You got a knife out on the police and you cut one of them. Yeah, your ass probably going to feel some hot ones. So it's a shame that this had to happen. It's a very tough video to watch, but they're protesting in Madison right now. It's going crazy. I seen that the brother who took over the press conference that the police chief was having. Wow, shit. So like when you go up in there and you do stuff like that, that's wild too. Like, you never know, man. You got to be careful when you deal with armed law enforcement. I know during my days with the Panthers, when we would go to City Hall and we wanted to protest. So we find out when the Common Council was meeting, and we would go in there, and the general, Daryl Farmer, would disrupt the meeting. I'm talking about disruption, right? Like you ain't no meeting. And one infamous time, and I got a lot of slack from this from a lot of my homeboys who were watching. We were on the news. My fixation in terms of what I was paying attention to was the police, because I was watching the police in the corner. They were in a specific corner in the area of the room where Common Council was meeting, and it went from 3 cops to 6 cops to 12 cops to 20 cops, and I was thinking to myself, we probably about to get our ass whooped by these cops. So I was looking at those police because I know we are protesting. We're down here disturbing this meeting, and I just knew, like, man. And when we left out of there was so many police. It was so many police. We were in City Hall. There were so many cops, and our thing was to maintain focus. You don't talk to those police. You don't say anything to them. We're moving. Y'all want us to leave? We're leaving. We made our point, and we were all able to get out of there safely. But it's very, 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 when you start resisting arrests, right? And I hate to sound that way, but you taking your life into your own hands. When you decide, man, I don't care, these cops is wrong, I'm about to fight them, you might not make it home. And so whatever, I don't know if this young man had mental health issues or what, but obviously he had a knife, and this is what happened. Now, if you know more about this, please enlighten me. I did say at the beginning of the show, you want to be educated and informed, and you want to be enlightened. Enlighten me. Let me know. What am I missing here? What am I missing? Ace said, I want to know when we ever going to get some get back. Ace, that's a good question. And in what form will a get back be in? Because I surely don't think it's time for us to go toe to toe with this machine, this military machine that's known as the United States. I think it would end up bad for us. But I think that our get back will come in the form of, once again, like I say, political empowerment. This is why it's so important for us to get on code and start working with each other and start empowering each other. This is why we need our own political party, so that we can really, really beat the ballot box down. You know, they say put down the bullet and pick up the ballot. And I know some of y'all going to kill me for that and say, kid, nobody give a shit about voting and all of that. Well, what are you going to do? If you have a solution, please enlighten me. Like I said, 262-202-5131. Hit the line. It's Outlaw Radio. Y'all know he gets it in. Carrie said the audio that the lady in Enhanced said that Britt killed him. I did see that there was supposed to be some enhanced audio. I haven't listened to it myself yet. Carrie, I haven't listened to it myself. That's why I'm not speaking on it. Brendan Peterson said if it was an accident, they would have called for help and they would have been talking. Instead, when they're talking, they sound like they've been coached. Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah. Liability, legal liability. Kerry Walker Jones said 3 to the dome. Sonia Thor said, in a way, the police was wrong for shooting him like that. Did you see the one where a white man was beating up the cop and was running from him? This is one to kill a black person. I did see that video of that cop who was running. Shame on him. Shame on that cop. His ass should be dismissed from the force. He just made all police look horrible. And I think that was here in Milwaukee, where this dude was barefoot with no shirt. The white dude was barefoot with no shirt. I don't know what substance he was on, but the cop was trying to, I guess, apprehend him, and then he started fighting, and next thing you know, the cop was on his back, but he got up and he took off running. He's getting chased. And I'm like, yo, and we all of us, black people, we know. If we see something like this, we're looking at the TV saying, now, if his ass was black, we already know what would have happened. So, yeah, I did see that, though. That was crazy. A says somebody called and threatened Willie D from Mississippi, stating he needs to stop covering the Nolan Wells case. Of course, he said, fuck you. Shout out to Ewok in Arizona, because he did send me a message, I believe last night, and said, I believe Willie D just found the murderer of Nolan Wells. He identified who the killer was, and he told me to tune in. I haven't. I plan on going on tonight. I do my pod verse surfing usually after I get off the air. I plan on going on tonight and I'll go and watch that the link that Ewok sent me, and I'll go and see what Willie D's response is because I'm sure he's lighting YouTube up, right? Sonia Thor said it was for police, can't take them down. She said it was for police who can't take them down. Why y'all carry tasers? Why? Why didn't he use the taser? I don't know. That's a good question, Sonia. Well, what is procedure here? Because I always have been one who says when police misbehave or there's a breakdown in the process, we got to then take a look at the training. What is the training here? What is the protocol? If you are going to apprehend someone who's obviously out of it, and it doesn't take long for you to tell unless you're just really dumb, you should have that taser out. You should be ready to use it. I don't know why you can let somebody put you on your back and then turn and break camp, as they say, and you still ain't drew the taser, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What's the protocol? What's the process? Dion, what it do? Dion, he said, what up, Kev? What's going on, my brother? How you doing, Dion? Always glad to have you with us, man. Ace Cooley said, when you go disrupting a meeting, you need to go a few hundred strong. Well, we didn't have 100. We didn't have 100, man. Hey, we had, I think at the most, the one time I went to several in support of the Panthers. I was obviously a member of the party, and we went to the county building, to the courthouse. But Sheriff David Clark at that time was really proactive. He was not messing with us. So all of a sudden, when you walk through the door, there were signs that said we will not tolerate. So that let us know that the sheriff deputies was gonna get in our ass if we came in there, and we still went. We went and met with county executives. We went and disturbed their meetings too. But maybe, I think at the most, that one time, I think we may have been 15, 16 deep. And I don't know if any of my former Panther Party members, my fellow Panther Party members who are listening to the show, how many of us was it? It couldn't have been no more than 20 of us, And he was the only one who spoke. I mean, his voice was loud enough, and he was a big guy. He was 6'7", 300 something pounds. So he commanded attention, and you got a bunch of black people wearing all black. We didn't really say anything. We were just there in support of him. And, it was, believe me, the impact was made. Mama Jenkins said, I'm very passionate about police shootings because my son was shot 7 times by a rogue cop. This Madison shooting was freaking senseless like most. She said, yes, there was a knife, but 4 cops and 1 cop shoots 3 times in the head. There's so many questions that need answers. Why did an on-duty cop taser not work? And hold on, let me read this all. Why did the on-duty cop taser not work, and did the other ones have tasers? She said, why that fucking cop kicked the man on the ground? Which one of those cops removed the knife? Yeah, Mama Jenkins, those are questions that have to be asked. I'd like to know the answer to a lot of them myself. And I hear you, and condolences on you losing your son to a cop. I really, I feel for you. But once again, listen, I'm going to say, as a black man, we know that there's been some unjustified murders of us by police. This is why our relationship with the police is so tenuous, because for how many years have we watched a lot of us die at the hands of police? A lot of us. And that's why we're always side-eyeing when we see a police murder someone, because we want to know exactly what happened. The problem is, a lot of times they will bury whatever misconduct or whatever dereliction of duty they're responsible for. A lot of times they will bury that. So you don't really get to what really happened. They cover it up. That's what they call the blue wall. Right? So we know that's happened several times with a bunch of different stuff. But I'm one of those people. I like to know the truth before I go on my rant. I like to know what happened here. Yes, Carrie Walker Jones, Nancy Grace is in. She said she's in on it too. She's making a lot of noise. That's definitely for sure. That's definitely sure. She's making a lot of noise. Earl Henning said, fuck Donald Trump and his friends who think they own America. Absolutely, Earl. That's you consistent, if nothing else. Now, did y'all see this Tuskegee University? If that's what it's called now, has a ban now for their students on bonnets, hats, house shoes, all this kind of thing. They said they want them to dress professionally when they go to class. I don't know how y'all feel about this. Like, I ain't mad at the bonnets, and I get it. Get up, get ready for class. You got class. Appear, show up like like you are serious. And the bonnet thing has always been controversial because you see sisters out with bonnets, you see them in the grocery store, you see them everywhere, and he's like, yo, that's horrible to be like. At one point, the discussion was people in the airport with bonnets on and stuff like that. I mean, I get what they're trying to do, but is this a cave? Are you caving to the pressure of, America saying, hey, you got to look this way or you got to look that way? Which in itself might not be that bad either, because ultimately you're going to have to live. You have to figure out how to survive in this world. And that's one of the things people always question about black colleges by saying, okay, it gives you an unrealistic sense of reality because when you get out of school, you're not going to be just dealing with black people. You're going to be dealing with white people. And I can tell you, I went to what I call a HWCU, which is a historically white college or a university. And the one thing that it did prepare me for was the workforce, because the workforce is dominated by white people. And so, I'm not totally against, take that damn bonnet off your head, but I get students are in school. They might not be able to have their, young ladies might not be able to have their hair done all the time, but do something with it. Do something with it. I've always, when I was in school, the one thing that stood out about my wife over a bunch of other women is I never seen her with a bad hair day. I never seen her with a hat on. I never seen her with a ball cap on or with a bonnet on. She always had that thing done. That hair was always done right. And I always admired that. And once I got to know her, I realized why, because she was doing it herself, right? She had a whole closet full of hair stuff and she would take the time to do her hair. So, I think, maybe this is something to tell our kids, stop being lazy, get prepared. Don't plan to fail by failing to plan. If you got to, take a little extra time the night before, and I get it, there's someone I was studying or maybe I'm working, trying to pay for this shit. You got to make some time for yourself. But I don't know. Is that a little bourgeois? Is that a little black boule-ish to say, hey, we're not going to allow this kind of thing? They say sleepwear. I hate to see anybody with their pajamas on in public anyways. It just looks very stanky to me anyways. It just looks like you ain't took the time to wash your ass. You just out here with your pajamas on. But also, I tell people, do what you do. Do what it is that you do. But I'd like to know how you all feel about it. Sonia Thor said, yes, she saw it. Kerry Walker Jones said, it's needed. The amount of times I have to write employees under for wearing bonnets, pajama pants, and even house shoes. Yeah, people tend to, but then when they go out or they go in the party, they get all guzzied up, right? Like, I think our kids need to learn professionalism. And if you're paying all that money for that education, I need for you to show up and look like somebody, right? My mother had this crazy thing about us, even just as children going to school. We couldn't go out the house without ironing our clothes. Like, my mother would check your breath and check your teeth to make sure you're brushing your teeth, because she always said, you represent me. Wherever you go, you represent me. And if you're looking bad, it's a reflection of me. So, that's one of those things. One of those things. I just think it's something that our kids need to understand why it's being done. Shout out to Deb Nash. Deb Nash. This is the first time I've seen you comment, Deb. Thanks for checking out the show. I appreciate your support. She says, I took an oath in college to, I think you mean never wear those things in public. It says ever, but to never wear those things in public. It looks as if they just got out of bed and came outside. I think it's a disgrace to appear outside of the house like this. They're always loud and disrespectful. It is, it's presentation. You get what you put out. You get it back. Mama Jenkins said, KB, I'm happy they stopped the bonnets and house shoes and pajamas and shit. She said, get up and wash your ass and comb your fucking hair. It's because cleanliness and neatness and be prepared to look good. Ty on Two Wheels checking us out on YouTube. What it do, Ty? Ty on Two Wheels, man. The first time I seen you comment, he said, what's up, bro? How's everything in Milwaukee? On my end, it's all good, right? I mean, it's about as good as it can be. I don't know. You have to check with everybody else, though. I'm not the no island, right? So I'm okay. But I mean, I'm always optimistic, anyways. I'm always happy to be alive. I do have a caller, my first caller of the night on Outlaw Radio on Hump Day Edition. Speak on it. It's my partner, man, one of our Outlaw family. Dion, man, what it do, man? What's going on?
Man, what's happening, man? I like that motherfucking introduction you just gave me, man.
That's what's
On the
up.
real.
That's what's up. I mean,
I couldn't catch you because I just came from work. I couldn't catch you on my way, so I said I'll wait till I get home and be settled and shit. So I'm outside sitting on the front porch eating a taffy apple.
Oh, okay. That's healthy.
Got the dogs outside with me too. So did you watch that debate last night?
I did not watch the debate, dude. I did not watch it. What was the gist of it?
It was mediocre to me.
Okay.
Anything?
Like I said,
out? What? None really. The fact that David Crowley had on a red tie, to me, because Republicans wear this motherfucker shitting in my front yard. Republicans wear red ties, but I just, you hearing them. Mandela seemed like his was just scripted. Like whoever talked to him, he just was scripted.
Okay.
David Crowley, he was, man, all of them was mediocre to me. I can't even lie to you.
Well, Hong must have did something well because she had a boost in her popularity. She surged 12 points ahead today in the poll, so she must have said something that was impactful.
I don't know, but I mean, she said the shit that people want to hear. Okay. You know what I'm saying? But we definitely don't need Tom Tiffany up in there. And Donald Trump, he did what he said he was gonna do.
And what
page by page of Project 2025.
Oh, okay.
Everything, and it's, I don't know, man. The world that we know it, like people said, it ain't even the same when Joe Biden was in office, and that was what 2 years ago almost.
Right.
It doesn't change so much. Attacks on the Smithsonian, and my thing be like when I seen Lindsey Graham funeral, I'm just looking at Tim Scott was the only nigga there I seen. But my thing be like, what do black people be thinking that support him when you see the attack on your history? I just wonder. Every black person I feel, especially that support him, and especially those higher people in Senate and like Brian Donaldson and Tim Scott, they need a nigga moment. They need a moment when some good old boys will pull them over, got that gun to their head and say, nigga, I'll blow your motherfucking brains out. But knowing them what they tapped ass and cool ass, they'll come back and be like, well, that was just an isolated incident. To be honest with you, bro.
That was Brendan Hayes' question to me about Tatum. This is the brother earlier that he was talking about, and I was talking about a lot of people's angst for black conservatives. Like people really have a lot of moss for black conservatives because black conservatives tend to be very, very critical of their own people. And listen, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of criticism that, you can justifiably weigh on the black community. I'm not saying they are, that you can't call somebody out when they're wrong, but it just seems like black conservatives have a hatred for their own people. And I think that's what responds or what black people kind of receive from them. It makes them say, I don't like black conservatives. Like you just said, when you look at the removal of certain things that reflect the history of what has happened in this country, and it's been an established mission for this Republican Party under President Trump to go and remove these things or to try and erase history or to try and whitewash history. It's amazing that they would have black people that would support them still. You would think black people would, no matter what, even if they represented and felt like they were conservatives, they would say, you know what, this is some bullshit. I'm not rocking with this people no more. That's not what really happens.
Even though I vote Democratic, I still have conservative views. Like I don't believe in same-sex marriage and stuff like that, but I used to be against homosexuality, but I don't give a fuck now because it ain't my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you letting a nigga run in your ass, or you messing with a woman and you another woman, or using the bathroom? Like, I'm almost 50 years old. I don't give a fuck about no shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It don't bother me no more. But just to sit back and look at everything that's going on, and just to think about it, be like, damn, like this shit crazy. And to sit back and look at this man, knowing that this man has had black friends or people that he socialized with, whether it was business opportunity or what, or even just the uneducated whites who think that the things we talk about, because you know me now, if you were saying anything about me, one thing I do believe in wholeheartedly is I believe in that post-traumatic slave syndrome. So I believe a lot of things that we go through in our community, it's a lot of shit that's wrong with us institutionally has played a part in, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have a whole people who a system stood on your neck for over 400 years, still standing on you, and ain't trying to let up. We ain't gonna be perfect. It ain't gonna be sunshine and all that old weird shit. You know what I'm saying? That's just like about when I said about Mandela Barnes, when dude was trying to catch me up last week, and I said I don't believe him or David Crowley will keep the pardon system, because there's a lot of things that black people can't do that white people could do and get away with it. You feel what I'm saying? So, like you said, a lot of times black people be real hard on their own people. So, what's his name? Governor Evers was able to do that, but they might not be able to do that because are you fucking pardoning? They already think black people criminals anyway. You know what I'm saying? Are you fucking pardoning those criminals? They don't deserve to get pardons, this, that, and other. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Like I said, Francesca Home, I listen to them and listen to what they say, but basically none of them really stuck out to me. And it was like, ooh, let me do this moment. It's just like, okay, like I said, with David Crowley, I feel like he should have never dropped out the race. I feel like he's unorganized. And like with Mandela, you too ambitious. That's the word I was missing. You too ambitious. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, I believe in ambition, but you was the lieutenant governor. You could have inherited a seat. You know what I'm saying? We'll never know what happened. You wanted to be a senator.
I want you to know that's not how politics works. There's no inheritance. There's a situation where you have to say, this is what I want, and I have to make it happen for myself. Now, I don't believe, and me and you disagree, you and I disagree on this, obviously, because I don't believe it's positive for you to ever tell a black man he's too ambitious. Because the one thing we've learned, the one thing we've learned, and I don't care if you're in corporate America, I don't care where you are or what it is that you're doing, nobody's going to give you anything. You have to go after opportunities and you have to pursue them. Now, give me a second, Dion. I got another call coming in. Give me a second. Give me a second. I want to bring this in here. Let me go to the chat room. Mama Jenkins says they said nothing about economic development or bringing jobs to Wisconsin. Okay. And yeah, we noticed that nowadays that seems to be a common thing where nobody's going to talk about economic development. I don't know how this is even possible. But I do have, I believe this is my brother Orlando on the line. Orlando, what's going on, man?
What's good, brother? How are you?
I am chilling. What's popping with you? Hold on. Did we lose Orlando? I'm trying to. My phone is doing this thing again, like acting a fool. Let me do this. I am resetting the phone, y'all, so we can bring all the calls in. I don't know why it does this, but it's new phone time. So I keep telling y'all, hit that Cash App. Let's get this done. Let's get a new phone. Hit that Cash App. Support your boy. Run across the bottom of the screen. Hit the Cash App. My Mama Jenkins said they did speak on data centers and voucher programs. Yeah, this city, and this state seem to be incredibly hell bent on everything except for the right thing. right? Like, so when we talk about economic development, I don't know if politicians know how important this is to voters. Because the one thing we need is more money because the price of everything has gone up. But at the same time, people's wages haven't gone up, right? Like everybody wants an opportunity to take advantage of the supposedly capitalistic society that we live in and it's free enterprise and all this kind of stuff. But I don't hear politicians give nowhere near enough attention to economic development. Hell, I haven't heard our mayor talk about it one time as mayor of Milwaukee. Have you all? Or what program is he doing? And I'm not talking about small business loans. I'm talking about job creation. I'm talking about a boost in our economy, our local economy. I haven't heard him talk about it. Kerry Walker Jones said data centers do nothing but raise energy prices in neighborhoods and deplete water supplies. Okay. I've heard they are very, very controversial right now. They're very controversial. So, but I like for this conversation when we start talking to voters to be more centered around some economic empowerment. I just don't hear it enough. I don't hear people talking about it. So, I don't know. I don't know if politicians understand how important this is. We need money, right? We need more money. Like you ask me what the average person wants. If you're a politician, I say more money, right? Come up with an economic development plan. That's what people really want. So, but now did y'all see, this is one of the craziest developments that I saw that I picked up on, and this is in the People's News Network. Did you see that Dr. Fauci today being questioned? I don't know if this was a Senate hearing or what, but he pled the fifth. He was being questioned about the whole COVID vaccine and the whole COVID thing, COVID-19 thing. He pled the fifth 119 times, 111 times. Crazy. Now, I think a lot of people aren't surprised by this. Orlando, give me a call back. Dion, give me a call back, y'all. I'm sorry, I was trying to clear the line and get everything freed up so we can get this thing working right, because I want to hear what y'all got to say. Let me see. Let's see. I got Dion through. Dion, you back with us? Okay. I just wanted to make sure my line was straight, man. So I didn't mean to hang up, but it looked like my phone was about to freeze. I need to hit
New York City.
I need to hit the cell phone store and give me a new phone. But yeah, so Fauci, see the whole thing with COVID-19 for me, and a lot of people were questioning where this thing even came from. I know it was something real because I actually had COVID at one point. So I can tell y'all.
Me too.
It was real. Whatever it was, I don't know what they fixed up, what they cooked up. It was some real shit. But it was so many questions about it. And then it seemed like overnight they came with a vaccine. But the thing about the vaccine was they said, well, it doesn't prevent you from getting it. It doesn't prevent you from transmitting it, but you will be less sick than you would normally be. Right. And a lot of us said, wait, what? Why would I take, if it's a vaccine, if it don't keep me from getting it, it don't keep me from spreading it, why would I take it? And then all of a sudden, COVID just kind of faded into the background. Like there's been some strands, there's people saying there's a new strand, and I've heard that, but it didn't come back the way it came. And I know for a fact a lot of people didn't do the vaccine because I didn't do it. I had it, and I still wouldn't do the vaccine after the fact. But we've seen a lot of people have some health complications after this. At one point we had a lot of athletes, young, healthy athletes that were dying and having heart problems. A lot of people passed away, and what they had in common was they had all taken the vaccine. So when he was being questioned today, he just kept pleading the fifth. So my thing is, what are you hiding? What's up with you pleading the fifth like that? Like I don't know. It was crazy.
You got to understand, though, he's one of those people on Donald Trump's revenge list. So he had to do that to protect himself, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't trust the government, but I know that he is on one of Donald Trump's hit lists. So he probably did that to protect himself. Who knows if the the COVID vaccine was the actual vaccine. Maybe it was a placebo. Because I didn't think it was real at first. I'm going to keep it real with you. I was like, man, only white people getting that shit. And I was in New Orleans for the Mardi Gras. I was places where a lot of people be. Nigga, I caught that shit at school. I was going to school to get my math scores up so I could take this apprenticeship for to be an electrician. And I fucked around. I'll never forget. I caught COVID November 17th of 2021. The day my favorite rapper got killed. You know what I'm saying? I was sick as a bitch. But I had something after COVID that was worse than COVID. And it was on Outlaw Radio, and I was like, man, I ain't feeling good, bro. I was like, this shit worse than COVID. But like I tell people, though, that COVID was meant to kill you, and it will. That was a biological weapon, man. That just wasn't it's a common cold or whatever. That was a fucking biological weapon. That shit was meant to off your ass, and it killed a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like you said, though, about it, though, like, what happened to all the bodies and shit that was in the freezers? And I don't know, Kev. You know what I'm saying? That's just something. I ain't thought about COVID since COVID went away. I'm going to keep it real with you. But a lot of that shit is crazy.
There was a lot of questions, and there's still a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to come out and just plead the fifth 111 times looks very suspicious, right? It just makes it look like, and there's a lot of I told you so's flying around right now with people saying, see, that's why I didn't take that vaccination. And at one point, it was like going to a tipping point where people who had taken the vaccination were really being very vocal against people who wouldn't take it. So they were,
but it was like
divisive.
It was certain places like Chicago, you couldn't go nowhere unless you presented your vaccination card. So I couldn't really go hang out I really couldn't go hang out like I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? So, man, like I tell people, and you know, me and you, we bump heads. When I be like, how do we know the United States is the best place in the world? You know, these people have indoctrinated us and, you know, lied to us so much, man. And right now we're really seeing like the government ain't shit. And in a way, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude's he's showing us something, you know what I'm saying? But it's not in a positive way, though. You know what I'm saying? But he just showing us, like, and then, you know, like we always say, for black people, when have the federal government ever been shit to us? You feel what I'm saying? Like, you know, the few little crumbs they ain't kicked down for us, you know what I'm saying? That shit ain't about nothing, you know? So, I don't know, though. But Fauci, like you said, he did. But I think it was more about Donald Trump trying to put a bounty on his head than he didn't want to tell the truth about the COVID, you know, what was going on with COVID. Because I think one of the people that did the research and created the vaccine and had something to do with it was a sister. So I don't know, Kev.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
Kev said, yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. It's a lot of questions.
We don't know.
One thing I tell you about governments, though, period, and I don't care what country it is, I think if you look into it, they're all pretty much dirty. And I agree. I don't think America's unique in the dirty tactics and the dirty shit that they've done. And as far as it is the best place on earth, I don't know if it's the best place on earth because I haven't been all over the earth. What I do know is there are some things that we have here that you don't have in other places. And so,
well, I don't know that because we in other places. Like I be hearing people, you know, talk about healthcare, talk about rent, just talk about how their government is more of a community to help them in certain countries than like over here. You know what I'm saying? Like free education and you know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, you be like, damn.
It's just like buying a used car. What problems are you willing to trade? Because you're gonna get one that's good over here.
Yeah.
Over here. So, you know, if you want to pick up right now, just do some globe hopping, saying I want to go other places. People do that. There's a lot of people who do that. I'm not a person who enjoys traveling, so I'm cool. I'm stay right here, so I'm straight.
I already, you know what? I be thinking about you too sometimes. I'm like, damn, my nigga say he do not want to go nowhere. Like, why no, bro? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, also, I think for me, and I think this might be something that I say, but other people might not agree with. My people built this country. This country was built on our backs, and we have yet to be rewarded or even acknowledged for it. So I feel like one thing we've always done is we ran from the South. We came to the North. Like it's people say, I'm moving from Milwaukee. I'm going here. I'm going there. But I think no matter where you go, it's the same. Now there may be once again, it's that situation of there may be some things that are different, but then there's something that's you're gonna say, oh shit, damn, I was enjoying that up there, but they don't got that here. So oh well. So it's just about what are you willing to sacrifice? But for me, I feel like it does my forefathers a lot of. I think it gives them a lot of pride, and I think they look at me and smile and say, hey, he's willing to stay and fight the good fight. It's time for us to stop running, and time for us to stop looking for a nirvana that's gonna come from somebody else and build one ourselves. Like you don't get nothing that you don't work for. And I think it's for Black people to start working very hard to create the changes that we want to see ourselves. I think one thing we do that's a disservice to us is we wait, we hope and we wait and we pray for somebody else to come in and save the day for us instead of saying, let's build an infrastructure amongst us and so that we can have these things ourselves. We can ensure that we have a lot of things if we get together and get on the same page and do it. So that's just my perspective, though. Everybody has their own thing. Kerry Walker Jones in the chat room said, lower them damn taxes. Sonia Thor said, she said, it's the flu. She's talking about COVID. It's the flu just with extra things added on. So that's what it is. It's the flu and extra things that come added to it. She said you got to be safe and careful and stuff. And no matter what, your immune system needs to be high. That will help you a whole lot if you caught COVID. Yeah, it was funny because I had COVID and my wife I went in the room. Kamar brought me some elderberry, a bunch of stuff. He brought me a bunch of stuff, and I took. My wife was making me this citrus tea, and I was just in the room, locked away from everybody for about a week, and it just kind of went away. So I was grateful for that because I was thinking. I remember the first night I came home from the hospital. I'm thinking I'm waking up every 5 minutes, making sure I could still breathe. Because I was thinking that my lungs and my breathing was going to get really bad, and it didn't. It just my body fought it off. So I was very grateful to God for that. Mark Ross, I see you, Mark Ross, man. He's in the chat room. He said, "What up, brother? How you doing, Mark? I see you still doing your thing. I see you still got your show going, man. Looks like you're doing a good job over there, man. Appreciate you tuning in, man. Shout out to you." Sonia Thor said, my kid's father up there, he was up there. She's talking about here in Milwaukee. He was at work and passed out from COVID and he died from it. But it's just another way. She said to send the flu with more extra stuff going on in your body and not helping. Mama Jenkins said, no one is talking about jobs within this city. I was driving down King Drive today and there's so many apartment buildings going up in that area. It's going to be like Cabrini Green projects. It's too many people in a 6-block radius. Yeah, Mama Jenkins, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't hear enough conversation about economic development. All I hear about you raising taxes and raising fees and deficits and budget increases and raising the property tax levy and all this kind of stuff. But what's coming here that's giving people an opportunity to make more money? Right? Even what kind of legislation is being developed to say more minorities need to get more opportunities in Fortune 500 companies and even in industrial settings. Hell, we're doing billions of dollars of work downtown, and how many Black contractors are being hired? When I look at the expressways and the streets, I'm driving down the street and I'm looking at these crews. I see a few. You don't see not one nigga. Well, I see a few brothers and sisters. I'm not gonna say that. And I got a few brothers and sisters who actually work for the city and for the Department of Public Works, but it's nowhere near enough. So I don't know, I don't hear the leaders, the elected officials talking about economic developments. Like they just dismiss it. It's just like anti-violence initiatives that never work. They talk about that constantly, but you don't hear them talking about economic development. I've never heard our mayor talk about it. And it's going to be one of the things that crosses my mind when he's up for re-election. Like, yo, you have no plan for economic development in my community, so I can no longer give you my vote. And I think any politician that wants my vote needs to start talking about some money. Because you know what they say, money talks and bullshit run a marathon, right? Kerry Walker said COVID has nothing to do. She said COVID was nothing but the flu. When they said don't wear a mask, they helped spread it. When they lied and said they had no testing kits, they were actually throwing thousands away. They were the same as flu kits. People up north were given the inoculation up to a year before the inner city. She said also most of our people were dying around St. Joseph Hospital. How the hell did our black politicians let it go to St. Luke's first? I know one thing. At one point, no matter what you died from, you went to the hospital, they were saying it was COVID. I just feel like if you had those risk factors that they were talking about and you were already sick, especially if you had any kind of respiratory, I should say, sicknesses, they were saying COVID if you passed. It got COVID. Oh, you died from COVID. So yeah, it was a time when information was coming from everywhere, and we don't know what was true and what wasn't. That's why when you see Fauci saying I plead the fifth, it's like, who are you protecting? Who's getting protected here? Mama Jenkins said the downtown area is growing rapidly, but it's not one business that's black owned, and there are no black investors. Well, I think it's time for us to start speaking with our votes. Unfortunately, everybody gets so caught up in partisan politics that it becomes just about party. Nobody's talking about the people. The people are suffering on both sides of the aisle. Republicans and Democrats supporting people are suffering, and nobody's talking about it. You're sitting in a city like Milwaukee where opportunity used to be our go-to, where people would just come here. And I think there was 15,000 people here when I was young, and it's down to 577 now. That is almost 50,000 people gone. But I think that represents the lack of opportunity. It's very hard to get a fair shot here in this city. And if you come here and you work, a lot of times you just working. You don't have the opportunity to take advantage of any economic opportunity so that you can invest or start a business. So, it's a very sad situation when you don't hear politicians. Like, I would think somebody like David Crowley or Mandela Barnes or Mayor Johnson or any of these black politicians start to talk about combating the poverty in the city of Milwaukee. The poverty here is a very huge problem. I don't know if people understand that poverty has rears its ugly head in a bunch of different things, from mental health to violence to crime to addiction and drug usage and alcoholism to poor health to poor eating habits. Almost every single thing that you can look at that's negative, poverty has an impact on it. And you don't hear enough talk about it. And we as voters don't demand enough pressure on coming up with some anti-poverty initiatives or some economic development, which is just not something we get. And I hear a lot of people talk about a lot of things on the radio, in the media, but I don't hear them critical of that. So maybe we got to change the direction, man. That's why I say a lot of what black people need to do is us getting together and getting on the same page to say, hey, this is what we want. Because I say this all the time. People talk about us, but they don't talk to us. They make assumptions and they use stereotypes, but they don't really get to the gist of what's really going on in our community. It's easier just to sit back and point fingers and Google at us and be googly-eyed and watch us on the news and say, look at those people. Oh, look at them. They're terrible. That's very
But you know
easy.
what, though? A lot of, they got that black fatigue, as they call it. A lot of people like, shit, why we ain't making nothing for nobody else? Why create something for the blacks? You feel what I'm saying? Okay.
I mean, I can understand your perspective, and that's the thing that Republicans use right now when it comes to a lot of things that are race-based. Stuff like Juneteenth Day, stuff like Black History Month, when they say, well, that's racist in itself. It's racist and prejudice to give a specific designation to one group of people and not do it for everybody. But I think when you look at people who have been downtrodden the most in this country and people who have been affected systematically the most in this country, it is black people. So therefore, to me, it's the country's duty to do something to correct that, because we can really point to hundreds of years of just being just thrown under the bus. I was watching a documentary last night called Silver Dollar Island. And I don't know if a lot of people have seen this on Netflix, and I believe it's in North or South Carolina, about a very large.
Yep, I've seen that. Yep, I've seen that before. It's in South Carolina.
A very large piece of land that was historically owned by blacks.
Yep, and they took it.
Men.
Yep. They took it from that family.
And they took it from, they started taking that land from the family. And I started to
piece by piece
about the fact that my own family were robbed of a very large portion of land in the South. And for years, didn't even know it. Our family didn't even know that these people had kind of just started to slowly take, and deed off our land and get it deeded off. And it's our land. So I don't know. I think my uncle tried to take it to court. I don't know if he's still in court. I'd have to talk with him. But there's an interesting statistic that said by 1920, 90% of the farmland that black people had acquired in the South had been taken from them. So when you start to talk about stuff like that, then that's the reason why you got to do something. When you say, well, we ain't doing it for nobody else. Well, what have you taken from anybody else the way you've taken from us? Have you committed the atrocities against anybody else the way you've committed them against my people? I think the answer is an overwhelming no. So therefore, it is your job to try and undo some of the damage that you've done. I mean, you're talking about a group of people who for hundreds of years, it was illegal for them to read a damn book. I mean, come on, man. Like, and then you wonder now where like education is not a priority. Like it's just like, we were kind of thrown out in the sand, man, do whatever you can to survive. And that's pretty much what we've always done. Whatever we can do. However I can make it, that's what I'm going to do. But it's time for us to get together to start straightening this wheel out. And I think if we got together and did it, nobody'd be able to stop us. But one of the issues we got here is we're too easily divided. So that's another issue that we have. Mama Jenkins says this city is being led by black leadership, but it's still raggedy, racist, and decaying. Well, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, Mama Jenkins. We know they might have black skin, but just because you got black skin, you got some melanin, doesn't necessarily mean you down for the people. We know that. This is why people were so vocal about David Crowley being the establishment candidate. I think that was a complaint about Mayor Johnson before he got in, is that he was pretty much trained on the knee of Tom Barrett, and that it would be just more the same, status quo. Like he wasn't going to do it.
He inherited though. Remember you said that nobody inherited. He inherited the throne.
No, he got voted in. He didn't inherit it. He was.
But he was when he was Common Council president and Tom Barrett left, he stepped up. And then, yes, he did get voted in. But how he got voted in due to his notoriety, because people knew who he was.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Mandela Barnes wasn't going to inherit the governorship from Tony Evers. I don't believe I'm not mad at any brother who says, man, I'm trying to go higher. I'm trying to elevate myself. I would tell any brother who's doing that, hey, man, ambition is something that you should have. Like, I can't tell a brother, I'm not going to vote for you because I think you too ambitious. That's like me saying, stay in your place, nigga. Shut up and dribble, right? I think we should all be striving to rise above. Like, no matter where you at, you should always be thinking, I'm trying to be greater. I'm trying to be better. I want to see a better version of myself. So you got the right if that's the way you feel, Dion, but I don't feel like that's a knock on the brother that you should have just sat there and just waited your turn. Like, I wasn't mad at him. And plus, I think Ron Johnson needed a challenger. Like, I think he needed to be challenged.
Well, maybe I'm a little biased because I've been hearing people say that. So, maybe, hey, you know what I'm saying? Because if think about it, he would have been with Governor Tony Evers for 8 years. 8 years he would have been in his shadow. You don't think it's a possibility that he could have inherited the throne?
First of all, how foul of it if this is Evers' problem with him to say he was just too ambitious. Like, so he as a sitting governor, because we see he never endorsed Mandela. So him as a sitting governor to sit there and say that boy need to stay in his place. I would look at Evers sideways and say, what you talking about? And now if Evers went to him and said, hey, just ride it out with me, and we'll never know this. But if Evers went to him and said, just ride it out with me, I got you, you're going to be straight. And he still said, no, I'm going to go do my own thing. Once again, I can't be mad at him, but then I would side with you more and say, you should have just chilled. Like you had this thing going, but we don't know what happened. because they've kept that under wraps. They've kept that under wraps. We don't know what happened. Mandela might have been getting shat on as lieutenant governor. He might have been underappreciated and disrespected. You know how they do us when we get a little position. So he might have said, man, enough of this shit. I got to get up out of here. So we don't know. Deb Nash says, I have a loved one who struggles with addiction. So he steals from places in an attempt to support his habit. He consistently goes in and out of incarceration. Incarceration is not rehabilitation. This has been happening over many, many years for this person. He is now labeled as a habitual. Nothing in criminal history, but theft. And it's sad. Absolutely. That's very sad. That's very sad. Prayers for your family. That's hard to deal with as a family, right? We all have that one relative who's caught in that cycle, right? I know I have several who've been caught in that cycle. Kerry Walker said that's not the definition of black fatigue. The only people that can suffer black fatigue per definition is black people, and it's because of the actions of white people. Let's not let white people hijack that too and make it about them. That's a good point, Kerry. That's a good point about black fatigue. That is a very good point. Hey, y'all, it's Wednesday, man. It's hump day. This is the only show of the week, so I want to hear from everybody. I know I had Orlando call in early, and I had to clear the line. Orlando, the line is open. 262-202-5131. Hit me up. It's Kevin Barnes. I'm up here parlaying with my homie Dion, one of the Outlaw family. I know if you listen to the show, you done heard Dion plenty times, so he's no stranger. It's Outlaw Radio. Speak on it.
No, I ain't no stranger. You already know, man. I just, like I said, man, I just be sitting back, and then, a lot of people have been trying to look at Trump's competency, and they feel like, man, Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
When you sit back and you be listening to, because I be listening to CNN, I listen to Joy Reid, Rachel. The other day, Hunter Biden was on Don Lemon, and people be like, we just don't understand how the fuck they allowed this shyster to get in the public office and the shit that he doing. Like, it's fucking astonishing, man. You know what I'm saying? When you just be seeing this shit. Like, right now, he trying to do something. He trying to overturn what the federal judges wanted him to do, and had the state Supreme Court overturn it about the election. You know what I'm saying? Like, with the mail-in ballots. And not only, you fucking with the mail-in ballots, you fucking with people that's overseas, as military, because if you on a U.S. base overseas, they consider that the United States, which is bullshit. You and the U.S. Embassy, it's elderly people, whites. Like, do y'all think about y'all constituents, the poor, southern, rural whites that can't get out, that, like this shit is crazy. And that's why I say, bro, like, I don't know, bro. When a motherfucker did that, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was the biggest mistake that America could have made. But we gonna suffer for that shit. You know what I'm saying? And, I don't feel sorry for no white person, no Mexican, nobody that casted a vote for him. I just don't feel sorry for him. And, it is what it is. It just is what it is.
Now, I did bring in another caller. I got Orlando back with us. Orlando, are you still with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can y'all hear Orlando? Or Dion, can you hear Orlando?
Yeah, I can hear.
What's going on, Orlando? Another one of our outlaw family members. What's going on, man?
Man, you have it, my friend. I heard a lot of the commentary tonight already, and I would say that David Crowley has a problem in this election moving forward. I think the Marquette poll came out today that Ms. Hung is even got a larger lead.
12%. I think 12% surge.
I think it's really between her and Barnes, and if individuals can't get behind Barnes, she's going to win. You have a DSAer in the, who is not a Democrat, much like Bernie Sanders. This is a region of 2026 again. I think the question about black conservatives, I think there are people who hear, because, I think one of the things you say, Kevin, is your criticism outrage or praise, then you're a coon. I think black conservatives, we have the ability, and we should have the ability to speak about the things that are not right without being labeled of, well, you a coon. And, that's just, in my opinion, I think it's wrong to say these things. And if you look at the actual coon and look up what it actually means, it means somebody who is shiftless, someone who's doing nothing, someone who's backward thinking. So again, another term that is being misappropriated in your definition. But if you mean individuals who only have negative to say, I think there are some positive things happening, but those things are not the discussions of the day. And so anybody who has criticism of the black community without having also the other balancing of the positive are automatically, labeled this term. And I think that's kind of wrong. If the conversation of the day is what happened on Grady Street, is what happened with whatever issue of the day. You can't say, well, somebody's a coon, Tatum is a coon. I don't really know the controversy of what's going on with Officer Tatum and the young man's this investigation. I don't really know it all. But what I do know is black folk have a real problem with being criticized or being called out. Let me not say criticized, but being called out when behaviors are not becoming. And anybody who has something to say, it gets real kind of murky. Like, well, you trying to do what the white man doing. This white supremacy. You must be a coon. Just by merely calling out piss poor behavior when you come across it. Now you can say, well, he only speaks when it's criticizing. I'm not saying Tatum, but in general, I'm just giving this hypothetical conservative. And so, in my opinion, I really don't support anybody voted for Joe Biden or most of these liberal concepts. They can really, eat the bottom of my shoe. Really, really so, because they really are nothing more than Democrat carrying water. Cats can get on here and say what they want to, and it really ain't nothing but somebody you carrying water for the Democratic Party. That's all you doing. Just say that. Don't sit up here and talk about how you hate Trump so much, you hate Republicans so much. You really want cats to vote for Democrats who support some real bizarre stuff. And no matter what happens, you voting Democrat. You ain't gonna vote for no third party. You ain't voting for yourself. You ain't gonna vote for the Green Party. You voting for the Democrats no matter what. And we just need to stop, allowing, this type of conversation that we had that we kind of cloak your real intention. You gonna vote for a Democrat no matter what.
Hold that thought. Orlando, do me a favor and hold that thought. Okay, Orlando, finish up what you were saying.
Oh, I'll land here. I just say this, man. Again, I think from a debate standpoint, I think Crawley, he didn't do well. Mandela is definitely swinging, bolos. He put up not even a meme, a picture of David Crawley on a step stool, not a step stool, but a lifter on the stage. And he said he took a picture of, or whoever his campaign team took a picture of David Crawley, because Dave is shorter. He said, being propped up by the establishment and also being propped up on this stage. I mean, Mandela is coming forward. He knows if he doesn't win this, his political career is over. And so he was the only one that took any, harsh words. This hung lady is she's out there. And I don't know if true Democrats, I don't want to call them progressives, but if true Democrats, are they really supportive of her candidacy? Based on how things are getting ugly between David and Mandela, I don't see black folks, or let me just say their voters, supporting Hung. I don't see them coming behind her in the general election. I'll land there.
Okay. Now I do have Ace, another one of the Outlaws on the line. I believe this is Ace. Ace, is this you?
Yeah, what's going on, man?
What's popping with you, my brother? How you doing this evening?
I'm all right, man. I'm listening, man. Just got in off a bike ride, ass hurting like a motherfucker, trying to get in shape.
Okay.
Anyway, but I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm looking at this, man, and Tatum, he's a problem, man. I don't have a problem with black conservatives. The problem I have is with he's what you call a grifter, man. He's dishonest, disingenuous. He's going to say anything negative about the black community. He's never positive. There's no critical criticism there. There's only, hatred of his own skin. Now that being said, this Hmong lady or whatever her name is, I don't know her, so I have issues with this thing all the way around because I don't know that she's from this country. I don't know that she has our best interest at hand. And right now, we're going through some issues, when it comes to immigrants, And I just had this. I had a situation yesterday with a Haitian brother, man, and he's cool, but he just doesn't understand our standpoint. And what I mean by that is, he brings up saying that we got into it because I can't remember some Haitian lady that was on TV said that they built the country, and that's significantly true. I mean, that's untrue. I'm sorry, and I had to break it down to him. I'm like, look, man, we had no problem with you. We tried to expand our community to you, but you came over here being disrespectful, and now you're spreading false truths. I said, you go back here, you're talking about how you outworked us, but at the end of the day, you know what, man? I'm gonna be honest with you. We can't go to your country. We can't go to your country and run for office. You know what I'm saying? And that's the case. You look at what's the Haitian brother name? Wycliffe.
Right.
That's American born. That was
Haitian is Haiti war torn. You can't. It's gangs and drug cartels.
Right. But he tried to run for president. You know what they told him? He wasn't Haitian born, so he couldn't. So I feel like they shouldn't be able to do that here. We have to stand on American business and American business only. We have our problems, but I think inviting these people into our Congress and into our politics, that's an even bigger problem because they still may be working for their country. You get what I'm saying? And at the same time,
I don't know
on the Republican side, we got Byron Donalds. I'm sorry, we got Byron Donalds.
Well, I don't know why Haitians. I don't know why it is that Haitians have been, because I've heard and seen a lot of Haitians who are very upset by the delineation movement. It seems like out of all of the different ethnic groups, Haitians are more offended by Black people, American Black people delineating than anyone else. And as far as them talking about outworking and this kind of thing, I'm like, you have to understand and know history. Nobody has outworked
us. Yeah, man, that's just what be happening,
when
man.
We talk
I'm
about
just tired.
300 years of free labor. Nobody has outworked us. So that in itself is a misnomer. I didn't mean to cut you off, Ace. I think the call just dropped. I think all of the calls just dropped. So I didn't hang up. If you are on the line, hit me back. If you're on the line, I don't know what happened. Seemed like all the calls just dropped. I just heard a noise and looked, and it was all gone. In the meantime, in between time, let me go to the chat room. Mama Jenkins said that's why you got to go get your deed to your land. She said, shit, in the South, we got 37 areas, and every 3 months, she checks it and makes sure that the names are still on it because them crackers will find a way to get your land. She said, KB, those white folks want that land. We get a letter once a month asking us to sell. My husband tell him his land is not for sale and you can't buy it. Look elsewhere. Bye. I hear you. It's very something that once, Black men were able to fight and scrounge and scrape and my family on my dad's side, as far as I know, owned their land. So my mom, they, for a while, a part of her life, they were sharecroppers until they were able to move on to family land that they own. But my dad, from my understanding, they always lived on their own land, and it's a lot of it. So I'm guessing that's how some of it was lost. But my uncle, shout out to them who are down there, who live down there now, have gone back south, where I don't know if they were doing some surveying or what they were doing, looking at how the deed was drawn up and then going to look at where the actual property lines were. But it's the fact that some white people, one white family in particular, had taken some land, a large piece of land from our family over a while. Kerry Walker said, if we can never get a straight answer from a Trump supporter when you ask why they voted for Trump, you're a coon. If you throw away any concern that your vote may have, she said your vote may have of less fortunate in your community or anyone of color. So she's saying you can't never get a straight answer from a Trump supporter when you ask them why they voted for him. And she said you're a coon if you throw away any concern that your vote may have had may have of less fortunate people in your community. Let me get this line back up and running. I want to bring everybody back in because people say, Kev hung up on me. This is my technical limitation, y'all. So, this was Ann who called back first. Somebody called me back. Let me get back. Oh Lord, this phone is giving me a problem. Come on. Why are you doing this?
Well, this is Orlando right now.
I know I got you, Orlando, but I was trying to give me a second, Orlando. Ace, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Oh yeah, I mean, we were just talking about because I was getting into Byron Donalds too, man, and the way he is. I don't agree with him. You know, he's talking about blocking reparations and things of that nature, which I'm like, yo, this man ain't even from here. So these are the problems I have with all these foreigners coming over there, or these descendants of foreigners coming over here and trying to get into our Congress, and they're causing us issues unnecessarily. And in the way I feel, if you're not FBA or born here, and you're true descendants of people from here, you should not be allowed to participate in our politics, especially if we cannot do it in your home country.
Okay.
And then going back to what you just talked about, man, you're talking about deed theft. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to chime in on that too. But even that situation right there, them is them people again. You know, they're getting their people coming in. They're in on the scams. They're doing it with cars. They're doing it with deeds. Especially, it's big on the East Coast right now. You know, people losing their homes and things of that nature. There's some. I got to remember the name of this deal that you got to sign up for just to keep watching your deed, because this shit can happen right up under your nose and you will never know it. You know what I'm saying? But I'll get that information to you as soon as I find out, because I don't. The latest I've heard is it's hit Michigan. You know, that's only 2 states away, man. So they coming. So people need to watch their properties and their deeds and their land.
Okay. Well, shout out to you, man. Thanks for calling, blessing us with some insight. You know, it's always welcome, man. You know, we appreciate you here on Outlaw Radio.
No problem, brother. No problem. Always a pleasure.
All right, hit me back if you got any other input.
Will do.
All right now. All right. The line is clear. I'm just gonna have to clear it like this, y'all, because it keeps hanging people up. So I want you to call in, spit what you got to spit, and then we'll get you out and get somebody else on, and we'll just keep it going like that. Kerry Walker Jones said, I can't stand these tethers. They have more to say than those who are here living it. Well, I think it's meant to be divisive, Kerry. I think a lot of this is meant to be divisive, because when we go back, and I go back to what Gay Edgar Hoover said about a black messiah, and I think one of the biggest fears that this country has always had is that black people would get together and form a united front, right? Because I think we have a lot of influence on how things move. And so I feel like the delineation movement was an attempt to get some sort of unity and some sort of solidarity amongst black people. So a lot of people have attacked it because they really, really don't want to see us come together in any shape, form, or fashion. So I think when you start talking about tethers, yeah, there are a lot of tethers who see white people just eliminate all of it. They just, because they're all immigrants in the first place. But you got a lot of people who have melanin in their skin that are immigrants, and they want to claim us. But when we say, well, hold on, you ain't with us, then it causes division. So, yeah, I never thought that the FBA thing would be divisive, but I've spoken with a lot of my brothers and sisters who've explained to me why they didn't identify with it. And I let them go on about their business. So it is what it is. Now, Orlando, you got a lot going on in the background. I don't know what you're doing, but you called back. So I'm assuming you had something you want to put in this conversation. What's going on?
Oh man, yeah, I'll just say this, man, and I'll hang up. Like you said, you're moving to keep the stage moving. I'm with you on, I don't know if the Haitians are, the biggest, problem, but I just say anybody who melanated, who are not from this country, even, my own barbershop, I got into on the barber, so he's Jamaican. And I guess he, to the point he upset, because I'm like, I love my country. Now, you don't get to come here and say the things you say because, again, either go back to your country or leave my country alone. I'll hold my country accountable. Go hold your own accountable. So I'm with Brother Ace on like the immigrants and the tethers who come and criticize or whatever they want to do and say how they made it or criticize others. Now, I will say you have some prominent Republicans who are Haitians and, they're not American, well, they're not FBAers. I look at that as, somewhat, questionable. But again, I turn to either Miss Hung. She said last on another podcast, another broadcast, that she has a black women in her upper, management team. Her chief of staff is a black muscular woman. So I was like, let me research this. Sure as my black behind is black. In the chief of staff of Hung, a lady running for office, her chief of staff, her bio says she's an immigrant from the Sudan. So how can this Hmong woman, who I'm assuming may be an immigrant for, second generation, gonna tell me that she got a black woman in her cabinet on her chief of staff? That's another tether of this Hmong woman not understanding the difference between foundational black people and immigrants. So it lets me know that if she wins the Democratic primary, kind of what her objective is. She threw in, black and brown people, and all the buzzwords of the liberal left, right? But be clear, she defines her chief of staff as a black woman, and clearly your chief of staff is a Muslim woman from the Sudan. Stop playing with me, man. And this is the problem that I have again with these foreigners claiming FBA or trying to, and have a problem with delineation for the sake of like, well, we all like, no, we all ain't. It's a different struggle here, and you fail to recognize that. I land there, my friend, and I'll hang up so that you can get other people on your line.
Appreciate you, Orlando. All right, I just missed. I had another caller. Please hit my line again. I was trying to click over. I couldn't get back over, so hit the line. Kerry Walker Jones says they separate us first, trying to be with the white people. Okay. Ace says at the end of the day, all they have is the Louisiana Purchase, which did nothing for the FBA because even after that, slavery continued over the years. Mama Jenkins says property monitoring is what we use to watch our land. Okay. All right. Turn your device down, caller. You are live on Outlaw Radio. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This Earl. I'm calling from Milwaukee, my brother.
What up, Earl? How you doing tonight, man? Another one of our Outlaw family members, man. Glad to hear from you.
I can't complain. I'm looking at the dirt from the top side.
Okay, that's what's up. What's on your mind, man? How you feeling tonight?
Man, disappointed. When I hear Orlando talk, and he talk about how somebody else is what they got going on, he don't like his own people.
Okay.
And you can see it. You can tell. And you wonder how can somebody not like the race he is? Just like Clarence Thomas. How you not like the race you are?
Now, what makes you think he doesn't like his own people?
Just the way they talk. It's like they are going the other side just because they're benefiting from being on the other side. Because, they got to have some of them. So they're going to look out for you. They're going to give you a job. They're going to say, this is how we're going to do this. Well, he like us. Give him a job.
Okay.
Let's have him fight for us. Let's have him make the statements, because they always got to have a black man making a statement against black people. That's in the best interest of white people.
Okay.
And it's just the way he sounds. It makes me feel that way.
Okay.
It's scary, man. But hey, when we get to the point where it's coming down to it, well, they're gonna put one in his head too.
I hope not. Let's hope for the best. Let's be positive.
Man. How can we be positive? Because look what they doing. Everybody has a law but us.
Okay.
We should be the first ones that had a law.
Yeah.
Because if you go to Mississippi right now, you can go to places they still got capes and hoods and the how you can make a lynch, how you can lynch a nigga.
Yeah.
They still preaches that.
Yeah. The Klan is still very much alive. Yes, they
Right.
are.
And how is that? Ain't that a hate group?
It should. You know what? That's the craziest part is that COINTELPRO, and the FBI did so much to disarm and discredit Black Power liberation groups, but at the same time they allow organized crime and the Ku Klux Klan to thrive in this country. And so,
Right.
that's always been, once again, one of those things when we talk about the uniqueness of our oppression is that it went on for so long, and at one point it was actually legal. It was legal to really put your foot on the neck of a Black person. And I think when you start asking, why should we do anything specific for y'all? Well, for a long time, the hate was specific, and you allowed it to go on. So that's a very good point. That the Klan is still thriving today. And we know if the government wanted to, they could go in and break them down if they wanted to very quickly, but they haven't done so.
You know why, don't you?
I got a few guesses.
That's them in the food now.
Say that again.
So that's them in suits. That's them running around saying that they for the people, but when they really ain't, they go at night and they don't wear they mask and they hood, but they vote on it. They voting that way. They're making laws that way. How can corrupt people make laws? You corrupt.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, it's a lot of them who would say, well, I'm not, I don't like the Ku Klux Klan. I don't endorse them, but they still share that same mentality in regards to how they feel about Black people. I do right. Believe that. So undercover Klansmen, right? Type shit.
Cool. Figured out how come 10 of them couldn't get together and say, yeah, we owe these people. And then turn around and say, but you can still hang them if you want to.
There's a lot to unpack there. Definitely.
Yeah. It's scary. And like I tell somebody, when you go pay your bills, don't pay them to zero. Pay the minimum, because that's all they want. They tell you, just pay me the minimum. That's all you get. So if I die owing you some money, you chose that, not me.
All right, I hear you.
I mean, it's scary that we got to go through this still, man, after all these years.
Yeah, I think what's scary is that we haven't put together the right infrastructure to combat it. And once again, we
can't come together.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We got other people. We got other people that's in our skin color. I'll jump to the other side in a minute.
But that's what I'm saying. I think it's a shame that after all these years, we still have not come up with the right weapon to combat this stuff that goes on with us. But hey, Earl, I appreciate you calling, man. I always respect your input, man. I'm glad to say you're part of the Outlaw family. So I got another call coming in. I want to be able to take this call, but I want you to make sure you stay by the phone and hit us back if you want to put something else in here.
I want to say one last thing.
What's that?
Instead of typing that, I'm going to say, fuck Donald Trump and his racist ass, pedophile, criminal enterprise.
There you go. Okay. I got you. All right now, Earl. Orlando, you are back on with us. What's going on, man?
Yeah, man, I need to rebuttal Brother Earl what he thinks of what I believe about my people. My work in this community is shown for itself. And so again, this is that disillusion of anybody who has a different position because I don't think like Earl. Like we have to be a monolith. He says, look how he sounds. Like he hates his own people. That's silly, old man. He sounds like a silly old man. The work I've done from my beginning on this earth has always been to uplift for people. You may not like my words or how I do it. That's fine. I may disagree with how you do what you do. But to sit there and try to take away from the work or he must hate his own people, that's a silly babble. It's silly babble. And for those who want to talk about Donald Trump, and this all reverts back to, well, you support Trump. Well, you supported Joe Biden, his goofy behind. So are you less black because you supported Joe Biden and all the Democrats? So if we're going to, flag wave, then I guess we're going to do that. But you can't flag wave and act as if the people that you support are so, so good for the black community. Now you can debate on, and this is where I like to go to, policy. Policy by policy, let's have a discussion on policy. And what that good policy you believe, like we should have universal child care. Okay, what does universal child care sound, who is it for? People who already work and have jobs who need to pay for child care, or people who already get a subsidy because they can't afford it. So who is universal child care for? Let's start having actual conversations. What does affordability look like versus all the, you must hate black people because he's a Republican and he's a conservative. Now stop the babble. Let's get down to it point by point, blow by blow, and understand we want to tax the millionaires more. Government doesn't have a problem with raising money through taxation. Government has a problem with how it spends it. If we're going to sit here and say, NPS has a money issue. NPS is one of the biggest budgets in the state, probably behind UW. And money is not the problem. Kids, you talk about this all the time. It don't matter how much money you give, but if you look at the truancy rate, and attendance rate, it don't matter what the budget you give it. Now, we can look at, if we're going to break it down again from last night's debate, they all said we need to fully fund public education. So that means half the state last night said they wanted to cap and limit enrollment in school choice. So all those black kids, I ain't going to talk about brown folks. I'm going to let brown folks do their own thing. And I don't like the mixture of black and brown. There's no black and brown coalition. I'm talking about black folks. Let's be clear. 97% of the school choice is black kids who are poor kids who are trying to get a better education because the NPS is not a fit for them. And that family should have the choice to pick what they want to. Be it choice, charter, voucher, whatever the thing is, find your school system that works for you. And so to sit here and talk, we want to fully fund public schools, what does that look like? When you look at your tax dollars, and Kev, you can do the research on this, 90% of your tax dollar, let's say $1, 90% of your dollar doesn't go toward infrastructure, material, building, no. 90% of your money goes to salaries and benefits. Let's be clear when they say we need more money for, and I heard this thing said last night, local schools had to go to a referendum just to raise money to pay the bills. Man, stop it. To keep the lights on. Man, stop it. If 90% goes towards your salaries and benefits, then you have a problem. They talked about last night, the state needs to honor its 2/3 funding shared revenue formula that it went to. I think back in the day when Tommy Thompson agreed to that way back 20-some years ago, 30 years ago, it may have sounded good on the chalkboard, Kev, or the blackboard or the whiteboard, but an application didn't work. So we're still talking about a funding system that we want to go back to that never actually happened. That's weird. But I'll land there to fill the line for the next person unless you have a question for me, Brother Kev.
No, I think you stated your point very clearly. So, I know Ace was on the line. Ace hit me back, man. I was just about Orlando beat you to the punch. He hit the buzzer before you. Peace out, Orlando. Be cool, man. Let me go to the chat room in the meantime. Kerry Walker Jones says, exactly, they won't deal with American blacks. They choose immigrants because they are more submissive. She says, I don't think it's about not liking your people. It's more about selfishness and serving the devil that serves you best. Let me get through some more of these comments here. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I always love my chat room, man. Mama Jenkins said cops equal KKK equal government. This is Ace. He said they allowed organized crime because they made money off of it. Hence JFK. That's also the reason they killed him, because he tried to crack down on organized crime. Let me see here. This is Keith Terry. Keith Terry, my brother, man. How you doing, man? It's been a while since you've been on, man. Hope everything's going well for you, man. He said government prints the money. No doubt, Keith. Shout out to you, man. A lot of people don't know. And see, this is why I talk about Mandela Barnes all the time. When nobody would give Mandela a platform, Keith allowed me to have Mandela down at 3041 when we used to do 3041 live on Saturday nights. So shout out to Keith Terry, man. Those were some great conversations we had with Mandela back in the days. Kerry Walker said, I'd rather pay for socialism than for my damn money to go to other countries. Okay, let me go. I got more down here. Keith Terry said, love. Always, my brother. Always appreciate you, man. Always glad to see how well you're doing as well, because I know you got a lot going on. So shout out to you, man. Shout out to you and your wife and your family. Kerry Walker Jones said, and already rich people's pockets. Sonia Thrower says, y'all going to have a Chinese person in the race on China, Japan. Hold on. Y'all going to have a Chinese person in the race, or China, Japan. Where is she from? She's Hmong. She's Hmong. Keith said, I love you, brother. Love you too, man. Love you too. Whole Terry family. Shout out to all of y'all, man. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you and your family. I was just with your brother, man. Just this past weekend, me and him got a chance to chop it up while he was here. So it was all good. Shout out to June. Okay, Ace, I got you back on, man. What's popping, man? What's on your mind?
And just listening to, because we were talking about the organized crime, and I don't know if I came across legitimate. You know, I'd be pushing buttons quick as hell, and then halftime it don't even sound right. But anyway, man, just that whole situation, man. I just brought up the whole JFK thing, but the government always benefited from it. The government has always been behind it. That's all programming, and you know, that's why it's organized. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, there's a movie that people need to go out. You can go watch this on Prime. It's called A Spoonful of Chocolate. As far as these white supremacists, the KKK, your skinheads, that's who's doing all the kidnapping, the organ trafficking and stuff like that. Basically, they tell you, you watch that movie, it shows you what's been going on with these people. You know what I'm saying? And where, like, you going into Ohio, and I remember several years ago, and maybe I think even right now, there's a lot of people that's coming up missing. And once they find them, their organs are gone. You know, but the mainstream media is not reporting on that. Man, these people are evil. And they will do anything, you know, to eliminate us if they can. But right now, you know, as we say, hey, man, God don't like them people. That's why they can't sit out in the sun. So at the end of the day, man, they want to, they trying to, what they call destiny swap us. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's pretty much what it is, man. Organized crime, it's your country, man. These are all the rich people. Look at Donald Trump's father. He was part of the KKK. JFK father, he was part of the bootlicking situation. And, you know, you got the Bidens, they're in some shit. The Bundys, which was close to Hillary Clinton. So you got to do your homework on these people, man, and you'll see what's been going on and how this country was actually formed with the white gangsters and things of that nature. That's it.
Okay, I'm with you on that. Look, money and you have families who form conglomerates, and America, in terms of financial corruption, is if you just study history, it's so many stories. Yeah. It's so many stories of how things came about and how they went in this country. Yeah. So, you know, I just think it's a shame that one thing that they made sure of, and I think the government has been complicit in this as well, is they made sure that we never really got a chance to participate in none of the shenanigans. Like they've always made sure they had a tight vice on us and controlled our progress and our growth. You know, whether it be systematic eradication through murder or something like even just trumped up charges in a kangaroo court. I mean, you look at what they did to Marcus Garvey. So
we were the fall guys. Right. We were the fall guys.
So that's always been, once again, you know, it's racist when even it's racism in crime. When you got some criminals who are racist against other criminals just because they black and they don't want to see them get ahead. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. So,
And that's it, man. That's all I was just setting it down there. I'm gonna get my ass off here and let this line open up. But I appreciate you knowing me back in, brother.
Oh, no problem, man. You know, it's always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure to hear from you.
All right. Peace out.
All right, man. Peace, man. Let me go to the chat room. Kerry Walker Jones says them foreign people trying to take over on the low. And that's xenophobia. Is that xenophobia where we feel like, you know, you're threatened because of I don't know. Are they trying to take over? I don't know. But I do believe if there's something we don't know about as regular citizens, it is the government's responsibility to go and weed it out. And some people would say that's what Trump is doing. That's what ICE is doing. That's what his real emphasis on illegal immigration is doing. So I don't know. We'll see. I just got a problem when you come for us. I don't care who you go after, but when you come for black people, that's when my problems with you come about. Because the last thing we need is more oppression. We have been the poster children for American oppression for too long. And maybe it is time for some new niggas, as they say, right? And I see the Democrats, they want some new niggas. They want the Latinos to be their new niggas in the Democratic Party. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes, man. We'll see how it goes. I ran across another interesting piece of information because we've discussed this on the show here a couple times, and it's 9:30, so I don't try to hold y'all up too long. Shout out to everybody who tunes into the show. Y'all just don't know how much I appreciate it because it'd be times when I'll be like, I don't want to do it, but I just know that there are people who look forward to the experience of rocking with Outlaw Radio, so I do it for y'all, so I appreciate y'all. But I was looking at this study that said now marijuana has officially bypassed cigarettes in terms of daily usage in America. They're saying that now up to 21.4 million people use marijuana daily versus 19.9 million who have admitted to smoking cigarettes daily. So bring on the decriminalization, and I'm not going to say legalization of marijuana because people already smoke it like it's legal. I'm saying decriminalize it because until you straighten out the justice system and we don't have these disproportionate conviction rates for us versus them, then I don't think it's a level playing field. So decriminalize it. And in a city like Milwaukee, in a state like Wisconsin, we could use the tax revenue generated by legalized marijuana or decriminalized marijuana. I just said I didn't believe it and said the word. I believe we could, especially in Milwaukee, we would benefit from that revenue generated by decriminalizing marijuana. Let's do this. Let's get these brothers and sisters who sit in the penitentiary for some weed next to rapists and child molesters and murderers. Let's get them out of there. Get them back in the community, and let's put some of the broken pieces back together in the jigsaw puzzle that is the black community. Earl Henning said the Department of Corrections is number one in Wisconsin. Okay, I hear you, Earl. You're our Department of Correction, boy. Woo, Lord have mercy. You're talking about a black enterprise, not run by blacks, but definitely occupied by a lot of us. Because a lot of us fall victim to that desperation that poverty creates is so great, and it tends to dominate your mind to the point where you say, hey, man, I'd rather go live in prison. I'd rather go live in jail than to be suffering out in this world with no help and no support. And I can't say I don't understand. So shout out to all the brothers and sisters up there in the joint. Shout out to you, man. Keep your head up. What this is Keith in the chat room. He says stock market is crashing. Let's buy the DI. What is that? The DIP? I can't see y'all. He said the stock market is crashing. Let's buy it. Hey, if we can get our money together, Keith, we need some brothers who are good with them dollars and them stocks and them investments like yourself, put in a leadership position. But they don't want to see that because you might be too good of an asset for the black community. You might actually lead us to some of to the promised land. So we need brothers like you put up front. Even when it comes to development on the north side of Milwaukee, I see you done wonders with developing North Avenue. A lot of people don't even know how instrumental you've been as a developer. Brothers like you need more shine. I think we benefit more from having you in City Hall than we do from having Mayor Johnson, but that's just my personal perspective, y'all. I'm inside, so I know what I know. Look here, man. It has been a wonderful, wonderful experience to do Outlaw Radio again tonight, man, to bring the show to y'all. I'm always so grateful for the support. I appreciate all the callers. I appreciate everybody in my chat room. We got a weekend coming up. The end of the summer. It's August. It's August. Summer gone. Okay. So if you're gonna get out and enjoy the festivities, please be safe. Keep your head on the swivel. If your young people are getting out there, talk to them before they leave the house. Let them know to be safe. Stay in contact with them, man. And I know they say common sense. If it was so common, everybody would have some. So apparently everybody doesn't have any. We got to do the best we can with what we got. Kerry Walker Jones said, "What should we buy, Keith?" I put that comment up again. It says it looks like he said the DIP. I don't know what that is. Keith, you would have to tell us what that is. I'm gonna give you some time to do that, so my people can get some enlightenment. Let people know what we should be focusing on, man. This is where these conversations need to happen. I do got time for one more call. If you want to call in, 262-202-5131. That's 262-202-5131. But I talk about the marijuana because, or the decriminalization of it, because I believe for so long, the whole reasoning behind it being illegal was based on racism in the first place. Right. So if you look up the history of how they criminalized it, it's all based on racism. So you go back and you do your due diligence on America's first drug czar, who came out and they used this this racist campaign with Reefer Madness. I'm gonna get his name for you so you'll have a point to start at. His name was, I used to have it memorized. I'm getting old, y'all. Harry J. Anslinger. Harry J. Anslinger. Okay. This is why I'm big on decriminalizing marijuana, because the whole thing with this was racist in the first place. And that's how they sold it to the rest of the country, saying that marijuana made black men want to have sex with white women. Lord have mercy. Keith said, I'll study in the morning and post the information. He said, the dip is when the stock drops for no financial reason. Okay. He said it's when it drops for no financial reason. Am I saying that right? Is that dip? Okay. Okay. Well, post that information, Keith, because we'll be back on Monday. And whatever you give me, I'll pass along to the people, because that's what this is about, man. Educating, informing, and enlightening. That's what Outlaw Radio is all about. So, you know, we don't necessarily talk about the latest hip hop stuff or the latest street stuff or the latest dudes on the street or the latest black celebrities, but we darn sure going to talk about some socioeconomics and some socio-political stuff, man. So peace and love to everybody that's tuned in. I want to close out. I'm about to go out here and check out this Willie D information, but I want to quote Willie D to close the show. If your criticism of the community outweighs your contribution to it, then you probably a coon. With that said, peace and love, and I'll see y'all Monday, man. Y'all be cool.